You've probably seen Mark Brower online with his genius concepts and probably know that he is a buddy of mine and a friend of the show. He's been on here before, episode 2, but did you know that Mark Brower has spent years trying to break through the 1,000-door threshold? It's not easy, right? Like getting to that like 600 to 800 door threshold to then go to the next level, to add extra team to deal with that capacity and not struggle through churn and get the right people on all at the same time and hit that and cross that is super, super difficult. So, I wasn't really surprised when we've had these deep conversations around whether you should grow your own portfolio, whether you should have different goals of profitability. And in Colorado, I think he had a breakthrough moment where he came up with this strategy that he calls the 883 strategy that can lead to a $2.5 million profitable company, and he shares it with us. The strategy was so good that Jeremy Pound booked him to speak at Rent Scale's conference coming up here in 2 weeks in Fort Lauderdale. We'll link that in the comments if you can make it. I think it's really gonna be a good one. It's called Strategic PM. But for now, listen to Mark's strategy that he came up with to not just go for growth, but to mine the diamonds under every property manager's feet for more profitability and a better lifestyle. Enjoy. Welcome to the Property Management Frame Breakers podcast. I'm your host, Pablo Gonzalez, and I am here to introduce you to the folks in the property management space that have broken the frame of what you may believe was possible. This podcast is presented by Vendoroo. It is your all-in-one AI solution for resolving your maintenance needs. Let's go. So here's the friend that's hanging out with us. Mark and I were at Tony Klein's Mastermind event. He started getting hot. He has been getting hot on this idea of diamonds under their feet. He, in true Mark Brower fashion, ran off to like a side room, had a 30-minute conversation with ChatGPT, came back, and it was so good that Jeremy Pound was like, dude, you need to speak at our next event. I'm not sure if that was the order. I think maybe he asked you and then you put it together. Yeah. But that being said, I'm working with Mark to help him refine that speech. He just sent me like a version of it, but more than anything, and we're going to do that. But okay. This podcast is also helping me understand the value of diamonds under their feet, because I'm also writing a piece on this that I want to include Mark's thoughts on this. And this will be a amalgamation of Mark's ideas, my ideas, and how to deliver this concept in a speech type fashion, unlike any other podcast in property management history.
This is a work session.
It's a work session.
Fly on the wall, work session, Pablo Mark.
Yeah, there you go. So that being said, Mark, I get this idea of diamonds under your feet. The reason why I'm so hot on this idea is because as I look at the future of property management and the past of property management and the effect of AI and all these different kinds of things, I think I am like on the tip of the spear of like really believing that the business model is going to change, and to be aspiring for the old goals, which is how do I get to X amount of doors? Because then I know I'm going to have like this kind of like a multiple exit to a roll up company that is trying to like buy these up and grow a big one. And that is my whole plan here, is rooted in outdated assumptions. The assumptions that those multiples are still going to be there. The assumption that these companies that have been like trying to like roll people up and have not had the experience that they thought they were going to have, and whether or not how many will still be there in the buyer's market that's there. And also the idea that the bigger that you grow a property management company, it's like more money, more problems, right? So one of the things that we've been talking about in diamonds, like at least in my content stream, is the idea that is it worth it to scale to 1,000, 1,500, 2,000 doors, or should you grow a 300 door portfolio? That's a conversation you and I have had in the Grand Canyon. I recently had Michael Lee on our podcast, who was somebody that bought a 300 door property management company, doubled it in size to 600, sold to Poplar Homes, went in-house as like head of product for Poplar Homes and developed software for them. And he now came to work for Vendoroo because he's like, I actually see the future as something very different. And he's seeing that there's data that are diamonds under the property manager's feet as well. That's a whole nother stream that could happen. You're talking about diamonds under our feet in the sense of why do we spend so much time going out there trying to get new clients when we could be serving our existing clients better or differently in a way that leads to very different results for us as well. And in the framework that you sent me, part of it is this idea of like, do we need more leads, or do we need to like focus on customer retention and what we can do for them and help them grow? And the idea that if we can do these things, this 8-8-8-3 framework, then that leads to like a completely different outcome, right? So that's kind of
Absolutely.
like the frame I'm coming in.
Absolutely. It should be an exciting idea that everything we need is right in front of us. It should be a revolutionary sort of like aha moment that like, holy crap, like all I got to do is close 8 leads a month, but I just have to get insanely clear about who that person is, how I onboard them, how I frame the relationship expectations, say no to all the noise and lock that in and go deep with these people and act like real partners and talk about generational wealth building and all my wildest dreams will come true. Look, the reality is property management is and always will be a highly fragmented industry. I just don't see the large scale operation that can hold the very fragile trust that exists between landlord and property manager effectively at scale. It hasn't been done yet. Somebody might figure that out, but guess what? Instead of me trying to be that guy that cracks 50,000 units, what if instead we took a page out of Nation Star Mortgage's playbook? Did I tell you the story about Mr. Cooper?
I want to hear it. I want to hear the story.
So Nation Star, like loan servicing, boring, commoditized service industry. How do you win in the loan servicing business? You win by getting people to stop taking paper statements and printing on cheaper paper with cheaper ink, and that's how you win, and charging ancillary fees. Wow, that should sound familiar. Nation Star Mortgage one day had some marketing genius, sales genius come along and say, hey, you know what? We've got the attention, the true principle. Attention is the currency of the 21st century. We have the attention by obligation of millions of people, or at least hundreds of tens of thousands of people. We're servicing their mortgage. They want to hear from us. They want an ongoing relationship with us. What if we got crazy and decided, what if we did something crazy? And instead of using cheaper ink with less pages and trying to go like paperless with everybody, what if instead we double down? We use multicolor on high quality paper and sent paper statements to as many people as we could. Well, that would be insane, right? You'd go out of business. Well, no, because the audacious idea is we're going to go deep and develop a relationship with people. We know a lot about them. We know that Mark has 4 mortgages. We know that he's in his 40s. We know that he has kids. We know that all this data, right? And so they dare to put in front of my face Mr. Cooper, who's this likable cartoon character guy who wants to help me in my life. How's he going to help me? He's going to help me get better insurance. He's going to help me harvest the money out of my rental properties and prepare for a wedding or a bat mitzvah or whatever the heck I got going on in my life, right? That's really costly. Suddenly, we're talking about 5 or 6 other ways that Mr. Cooper can bless my life because they started thinking about a washed up, commoditized service industry differently. If property managers, myself included, were not so busy chasing our tails, putting out fires, crisis management, and thinking that the way out is to en masse add doors or RPU. Adding doors per month or maximizing RPU is not the end game. The end game is going deep in the relationship. The end game is lifetime value. We could actually say no to more people. We could actually be more fair with our fees and treat people right and go and be wildly more profitable. There's an intersection of those 3 things. Yes, there is. And that's mining diamonds under our feet.
I mean, that just checks out so well with all sorts of business thinking that is happening these days, right? Like I think the world and the media overcorrects for what happens in like the tech scene, but in the tech scene, this has just recently happened, right? Venture capital dried up and everybody went from growth at all costs to sustainable growth. And that meant, meaning, right? Like venture capital, you can't just go out and get a new round of funding. So it's not just about like client acquisition and users. It's really about being profitable, go figure, with the users that you actually have. So it's gone from growth at all costs to sustainable growth. And the language coming from that is LTV is the new CAC, meaning everything before was based on cost of client acquisition because it was all about growth. Now it's all based on lifetime value of a client, and that checks out, right? So like whether it's mortgage, whether it's Silicon Valley startups or property management, like you're saying, this idea of how do you get more serious about increasing profitability by adding an experience that makes them want to stay longer, that increases not your share of market, but your share of wallet per client, because at the end of the day, that diamond that you talk about that's under our foot might look like data, or it might look like a property deal, or it might look like a client that is going to like pay you more money, but the diamond itself is the trust. It's the idea that it's once you have somebody that you are serving and you serve them well, the trust that you gain from that allows you to enter conversations that somebody just coming into their life new would have to work way harder to start with them.
100%.
Yeah. You want to take a sip of that liquid death?
Absolutely.
It looks so tasty.
Hashtag not sponsored.
So Mark, I want you to explain to me, right? Because for me, like we can pontificate on the data piece. I think I've beaten up the whole like, the diamond of, off market deals as a property manager, being there. That to me is a diamond, but I want to get specific into your diamond of LTV. Explain to me the numbers behind that 8, 8, and 3 framework. Like what is, when you say that, I hear, okay, if I was to start from zero today and add 8 clients a month per year, per
month.
8 clients per month for 8 times 12, 96 months, right? So 8 years. And if in that time, that client that you added ends up adding 2 more properties to the portfolio, that gets you 8 years later to a $2.5 million EBITDA. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely.
Okay. Explain that to me.
And the numbers are staggering, but here's how it breaks down. The plateau of the number of units you will manage in your residential property management business is the number of units you're adding monthly times the average number of months that a client stays with you. So if somebody stays with you for 8 years, they are staying 96 months. If you're adding 8 high quality doors a month times 96, you are at a 768 unit property management company. Okay. At 768 units, well, let me break it down a slightly other way. 768 units, very manageable, right? Not some monstrous business.
Yeah. Time out, Mark, real quick. Are we adding 8 doors per month or 8 clients per month?
Great distinction. Ideally, well, this calculation is based on 8 doors a month, but it also assumes 1 door per client. Okay. Which is very close to what I'm doing. I have clients, so let's call it 8 clients a month. But if they only had 1 door, that's what these numbers are predicated on. Okay. My average client has 1.2 units. 768 units under management. Okay. It'd be 8 years, theoretically, before you started losing 8 clients a month and gained 8 clients a month. So you would plateau at 768 units. The difference in profitability between a client that stays in my company for 2 years versus someone that stays 8 years is massive. So in 2 years, we have about a $2,300, in 2 years, we profit about $1,400. First year, 0, goose egg. Second year, about $1,400. Okay, so if we could perfectly predict how long someone would stay with us, we would 100% say no to anyone that would want us to manage their property for less than 3 years. I would do that. I would check that box. That's what I'd sign me up for that. If someone stays 8 years, it goes from $1,400 to $9,800 just on property management profit.
Total lifetime.
Total lifetime.
Got it.
Now you add our average fee to transact a house with a client in this market is over $10,000. If I'm transacting at scale and I have a staff rock star agent making 150 to 200,000 a year, handling 8 transactions a month with their assistant, which those numbers should pencil out. They could probably do more than that, 10 or more potentially. Then I'm a 75% or 80% profit margin on that transaction revenue. So that's 8 grand bottom line per deal that I sell. Times 3, that's 24,000. Now you got 24,000 plus 9,000 is $33,000. Okay. If I'm adding 8 accounts a month and my profitability is 33,000 lifetime value, then my monthly profit is 264,000. And let's say, well, that's just way too aggressive. Take 30 grand off of that. Times that by 12. That's the profitability we're talking about. Over 2 million, 2.5 million annual profitability.
That's what's up, dude. So it sounds to me that the key to doing this from where you're at, and we can talk about obstacles to do it. Why don't we start with obstacles to doing this? What are the biggest obstacles to doing this?
The great thing about the obstacles to doing this is they're mostly internal. They mostly have to do with our own discipline, our own focus, and our own mindset. I created a hierarchy of activities needed, and I identified where I'm at in this hierarchy. And I'm scrolling through my GPT thread.
Got it. As you're scrolling through your GPT thread, when I hear it's mostly internal, I assume a big piece of this is really dialing in on an ideal client, and not just dialing in on an ideal client. Everybody knows their ideal client, but knowing who you say no to, creating a onboarding experience that an onboarding experience that really like helps you sift through that and indoctrinate the investor into this philosophy, changing kind of like the momentum of your business of like however opportunistic it is right now to dialing into these things. And then I assume there could be other tactical kind of like things to think about on the back end.
Absolutely. It's not pulling up the list right now. So exactly. Yeah, you nailed it with some of them. There are things that the challenge I have, I'm going to go in front of a room and everybody's going to be at a slightly different place.
Yeah.
Okay. For some people, there's low hanging fruit that they haven't capitalized on yet. That's like a no brainer, like go do that first.
Yeah.
And one of the most important fundamental things, my opinion, is to get insanely clear about who your ICP is.
Yeah.
Just like Jen took us through at that Onyx
Okay.
retreat a couple weeks ago, Jen took us through that exercise. That was fantastic. You know how
Yeah.
many times I've thought about my ICP and thought I was super clear about my ICP?
Yeah.
Dozens of times.
Let's help our friend understand what was so good about that ICP exercise, right? I heard a room full of people saying the ideal person that I work with, and then basically described what they do, right? Like what like the provider does. Talked about someone that's like an investor, not just like an accidental landlord, someone that has this like growth mentality, someone that does this thing. But what Jen proposed was different, was talking about who the client is and what the client wants, right? Is that how you understood it?
Yes, and I found that list I want to come back to in a few
Okay.
minutes. Jen did a fantastic, like Jen at Rent Scale,
Yeah.
phenomenal. Did a fantastic job, like twisting my brain into thinking about this completely differently. She said most property management company owners, VP of growth or whatever, whoever's responsible for this activity, think about their ideal client in terms of what requirements I, as the property manager, have of them. I
Mm-hmm.
want them to be so prior to going to this retreat, my ICP had to check 3 main boxes. They had to be supportive. That was the key idea. Supportive in 3 ways. Supportive in my process. Trust me as the subject matter expert, defer to me. Supportive financially, you need to have at least $10,000 liquid available immediately at a moment's notice, or I can't manage your property. And supportive with professional courtesy, or emotionally supportive. When the going gets rough, because it's going to, we're partnering and running your business, then I need you to not swoop in and criticize, swoop in and harass. I need you to be calm, cool, collected, act and think like a leader. So that's what I needed from my ICP. And that, I thought that was doing a really good job and being super clear about it. We actually had that in our whole qualifying process. They had to meet those box. They had to check those boxes, and their property had to meet our profile in order to even consider bringing them on as a client. But guess what? It's not about just what I need from them. It's about the clothes they wear, the car they drive, what they do on the weekend. Do they have kids? No kids? Like if I want to understand my ICP, I've got to get insanely specific about exactly who they are. It reminds me of a story of a dental consultant. I heard this story years ago where he would go to these conventions, and at his booth, there was a line. Like you had to wait to get in front of this guy because he had 100% track record of quadrupling profitability of every single dental practice he ever worked with. You know what the secret was? He was looking for infighting among the staff. He was looking for at least 5 million in annual revenue. He was looking for old software. He had this exact profile nailed. So the only people he said yes to, he hit it out of the park every single time.
Yeah.
Like, what if we got so insanely good at knowing exactly who's going to benefit most from the service that we're going to enjoy serving the most, and it's highly likely to stay with us a long time and transact with us? What if we could dial that in so well that we know what those people were doing on the weekend, and we knew that their kids were in club sports, and we knew that they were going to church, and we knew that they were a father, and we knew that they were actually a business leader, because guess what? A business leader empowers a property manager in a whole different way
Mhm.
than other people. So I came out with this profile thinking like that's the person. If I could have 8 of those people a month, I've got a golden business that's extremely profitable, and I'm extremely proud to be part of.
Yeah, so going beyond, hey, what are the things I need you to do to hold up your end of the bargain in an ICP, to these are the traits, like these are the qualities of people that hold up their end of the bargain, right? Like these are the habits of people that hold up their end of the bargain.
This
These are
is
the
how they live their
purchasing
life.
these are the
Yes,
purchasing patterns of people that hold up their end of the bargain,
exactly.
right? And therein is not just a better way for you to figure out, but that if you dial in that ICP piece in that way, this feeds your idea of diamonds, of minding the diamonds under the feet, but it also feeds that, like, the mortgage company that you just talked about, right? Like, if you start to understand the data that this person starts to bring in, that has its own value, right? Like, you and I have spoken about category design. In category design, there is a concept called the super consumer, right? And the super consumer is kind of like that Pareto principle of, like, your clientele base. I can probably guess that there's about 20% of your clients, of your owners, Mark, that are responsible for about like 60 to 75% of your profitability. These are probably the folks that you're describing, that if you get 8 of them, and you just stack 8 of them a month, that you'll get to this number. Well, guess what? Those people, there's also a law that, so every business has that. Every business has a super consumer that is responsible for, like, a small population is responsible for a large percentage of their profitability. And something that category pirates have figured out is that a super consumer of 1 is a super consumer of 8 categories. And that starts to get really powerful when you start thinking about, oh,
Wow.
okay, then I can find them in these watering holes
In
purchasing
other
these other
category, other
things.
water holes. Yes.
And B, I can use that data to go partner with these other people that sell
Oh.
this stuff to increase the share of wallet that I
Dude,
can
that's
create for these
beautiful.
people.
And if you get really creative and you partner in the right way with these other providers, if you're the initiator of those partnerships, sometimes you can do that at an insanely low cost to you because you're the one that came up with the idea.
100%. 100%. 100%. So, like, you start thinking about the event that you can throw, and the people that will sponsor it, and that's a sales event for you, just like it's a sales event for them. But guess what? You're already getting that event paid for by them, and, like, and the partnerships that you can then create of, like, lifetime commissions. So that's step 1 of, like, it's in your own control, dialing in an ICP to mine diamonds under your feet via data,
Yes.
via partnerships, via different things. What are the other things that
Are you
you
ready for
that you
this?
control? Yeah,
There's 3 layers of diamonds:
I love it.
surface stones,
Oh,
core veins, and the deep diamond zone. You
oh
ready?
yeah, oh yeah, I'm ready.
Clarifying your ICP is right on the top of surface stones. These are the easy wins. These are the diamonds in plain sight. If you haven't mined these yet, start here. Clarify your ICP, nail it, lock it in. Fire abusive clients.
Mm.
A lot of people have talked about this.
Yeah.
Do it, do it, do it. There's people who've been in business over 10 years, haven't done this yet. Hire your operations leader. If you're still the main character in your business with a gaggle of assistants around you, hire your ops leader.
Mhm.
That's a surface level diamond.
You in your write up you put hired your Richard.
That's right. Hire
That's
your
right.
Richard. Yes,
That's right.
that's my
Yeah.
guy. He's been with me
Yeah.
almost
Mine
10
is
years.
Brian. Yeah.
Go remote the right way.
Mm.
If you haven't enrolled remote labor, but there's a right way and a wrong way to do it. I messed up a lot on that. Improve your live answer phone rate to 98%. That's a freaking surface diamond. And it's a massive blind spot in our industry. People do not answer the phone. I've got an interesting story about that I'll tell you later offline.
Mhm.
Nail your sales script. Raise prices and push full contract value, which might sound really contrarian, but it's so true, man. You raise your prices and you push full contract value and you enable your BDM to do that. And it's a beautiful thing.
Explain to me what full contract value means.
Well, let me explain an outcome that's happened in the last year in my business. Without adding any more doors, we have increased our first year contract value 80% in the
Mm.
last 12 months. So what I did is I raised my prices, and then I empowered my business development manager who came from the pest control industry to have broad discretion about incentives that he would extend based on the client's needs. And so what he was able to do, there's this principle in economics of utility. And what the airline industries are masters of this. If you can price segment and deliver essentially the same thing, but
Mm.
charge people what they're willing to pay, then you're getting a massive surplus. And that's exactly what happened. I came up with a comp plan. I found a guy that could do it. I came up with a comp plan. I raised my prices, and he makes more money when he sells closer to our full price.
Got
And
it.
and that's a well-known principle in sales.
Yep.
So put that in place. That's a surface level diamond, right?
Mhm.
Core veins.
All right, all right. So service level diamonds sounds like these are managerial calls and processes to implement that will increase lifetime value. And also I think most of them is increased lifetime value, but some of them are also free you up
That's exactly it. Those are
to
the
to
two things. Yep.
free you up to mine, right? Like
Increase
free,
lifetime value
yeah,
and buy back your time. And
and
there's
buy
a
back
book
your
about
time.
that. We could talk for hours about that.
Yeah,
Buy back your time because guess what? You're the rainmaker.
yeah,
If you're nailing your butt to the ground, if you're limiting yourself because you're
yeah.
engaged in $20 an hour work just because, I'll just do it, that's a
Right.
massive inhibitor,
when
right?
when I think about how hard these things are to do, right? Like I think the ICP one is a discipline thing, like get down and really get this done, right? Like study your clients, spend some time with your clients, get this done. Finding a Richard, finding a Brian, right? Like that will happen when it happens, right? Like I think that has some variability to it. Answering your phone to me feels like really low hanging fruit, particularly when it comes to like AI phone lines that can forward the thing to the right person and get the right information out there. Starting a max value sales thing that you're talking about, right? Like this is a hey, let's push, right? Like raise your price and get a salesperson that's willing to like start there and have some qualifying kind of like things to then say, oh, okay, well, we can bring you in on a lower price if that's what we got to do. But when I think about that, that's like, hey, raise your prices and then let your salespeople get the deal done, and then create like an onboarding process and an experience where you can then bring that person back up to that full contact price. That seems like a no-brainer to me as well.
Yep. And that's a core vein or like a deep diamond. Like, how do we go deep and maximize value
Yeah,
creation? There's a problem in our industry. Pablo, you and I've talked about this.
yeah,
There's a problem with money extraction in the
yeah,
business. I'm an advocate for value creation precedes the money. Like
yeah, yeah,
what are we doing to create maximum value so that people will be falling all over themselves to pay us a premium price? We
yeah,
have to buck the system. We have
yeah,
to buck the trend of this is a commoditized service business. Y'all do the same thing. You're saying
Hmm.
the same thing. So I'm just shopping on price.
Yeah.
Like if you want to play that game, you might be the one person in my market. It's on cue property management. You might be the one person that becomes
Yeah.
the Walmart of property management and crushes it.
But there's only one.
There's only one.
There's
And
only
if
gonna be
it's
one.
it's not
Yeah.
you, you better figure something else out, right?
That's also category design, category king dynamics. I like where you're going with this. Let's talk about core veins, right? Because what I'm basically hearing is instead of price extraction, instead of transaction, you're investing in value injection, you're investing in relationship, which is at the core of this business, right? So talk to me more about let's get into core veins.
Yeah. Core Veins is about transforming your company from grind to machine. Like in stage one, you're grinding and you haven't figured out how to leverage your own self and you haven't figured out how to answer the phone yet. You're really working on product market fit, and that's the low-hanging fruit there. Once we're past just grind and we're trying to convert the company into a machine now, it's what you talked about. You're going to hire, you've already got your ops guy. Now you're going to hire and empower your BDM. That's
Mm-hmm.
critical. You're going to start capturing content. I mean, you do this very well. Obviously, you're all about content. Start capturing content and start thinking about community. Unless you're going for category design of being the Walmart of property management,
Mm-hmm.
then we have to think about building community to move people through those know, like, and trust phases of coming into our family company, right?
Mm-hmm.
Install training, scripting, scoreboards, build a company people want to work for, establish a client education journey. This is huge. If we can elevate our client's vision from short term transactional landlord to long term generational wealth builder, abundance mindset, long term, thinking decades instead of years, that has
Mm-hmm.
that massive, that can help make that massive shift on our client churn. Property management masterclass training, training your property managers on high skill activities like crucial conversations, one of our favorite books here. So that's the those are the veins once we get past the surface level stuff. And then
All right.
finally, the deep diamond zone
Yeah.
is
Hold
really,
on. So then veins, what I'm hearing in veins is basically like an investment in culture and skill set, right? Like
yep,
this is the first one is leveling up the people that you're bringing in the door from a clientele level. The vein sounds like you're leveling up your team to
yes.
be able to then inject value to the people that you're bringing into the door as opposed to just be in the extraction business.
Yeah, it's building the skills and the tools helping reframe the vision of the owner, right?
Okay.
They're the biggest one of the biggest tragedies in property management is the landlord that actually financially could hold this property for decades.
Yeah.
But because it's kind of annoying and the cash impact stress is random, coughing up money for
Yep.
repairs they didn't expect, they wash out after 3 or 4 years. It's getting them on the other side of that first 7 years. I've never met anybody that owned rental properties over 20 years that regretted it. In fact, if we could build a
Yeah.
time machine and go back 20 years, we would sell unlimited real estate. Well, guess what? The same thing's happening 20 years from now. So, how do we give our clients that vision and the tools and the ability to see that when they lack that vision and to make it smooth enough along the way?
Love it. Yes. So then having a team that can buy into this and educate and continue to nurture the relationship and do it the right way with the skill set is the vein. So what's the deep diamond zone?
Deep diamond zone. This is the next edge, the space you're headed into now. It's really moving into that 883 framework, locking in that 8 doors a month, the 8%, staying 8 years, and 3 transactions per door. It's a rock star onboarding experience.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what's the book? Never Lose a Customer.
Mm-hmm.
Just really dialing in. Not only were we careful about who we found, but that first 3 to 6 month journey in our company, just really, we keep investing and we keep giving and we keep educating, we keep adding value to the point where it's like, dude, I am locked in. That's how we get to that, eight clients staying 8 years or longer. Asset management training. So now we're going beyond just property manager masterclass and skills of de-escalating things, explaining things, gaining influence. Now we're talking about asset management training. Asset management training is a whole new world.
Mm-hmm.
It's proactive communication with clients before they think to reach out. It's having the data on how old your roof is, your
Mhm.
HVAC system, your water heater. It's understanding the trends, the market trends in your particular neighborhood. We might need to move capital. It's understanding that we're capital managers, we're not just property managers. And we need to think like stewards of the capital locked into this asset and sometimes question whether it's giving our client with all the vagaries of their emotional and risk tolerance differences and their time frame differences and their age and their all the unique characteristics about the owner, blended with what is this asset doing and what's their capital doing, and find those mismatches and proactively informing and uncovering that and repositioning capital to maximum wealth building. And if someone has a high risk tolerance, a longer time frame, they have strong financials, then we're splitting equity more aggressively every 5 years and moving into additional assets. So instead of an $800,000 paid off property over 20 years, for instance, they have a
Mhm.
$2.3 million portfolio. I've modeled that. And it just requires that your rental property has a rental property baby every 5 years. And you can grid that out on a spread. So this is, we're talking about asset management. And not only having a dedicated person on your team that does this very skillfully, but the entire team understanding this is what we do.
Mm.
I need to have these kinds of conversations with clients on a regular basis so that we're surfacing up these
Yeah.
opportunities for our on team asset manager to harvest these opportunities and get to those 3 transactions per client. Retention as a business strategy, creating owned media and investor communities like you've done with JW.
JWB. Yeah. If you understand that change is coming and AI is this giant industrial revolution, you're going to want to work with a company that is AI by DNA. And that, my friend, is Vendoroo. We are a native agentic AI solution built from the ground up with this assumption that the AI future is here. And what Vendoroo does, it is able to handle 80 to 85% of all maintenance work orders from beginning to end, while elevating that extra 15 to 20% so that you can actually take care of it. And most importantly, just getting you out of the grind and the forever firefight of maintenance so you can do other things. Like one of our clients hired Vendoroo.ai, and within 6 months, the amount of time that saved her from maintenance, she dedicated herself to business development. She started adding 10 doors a month over the last 6 months. It's been 60 new doors. It's been a huge change, huge growth for her business, way more profitable. So if you want to do that, you want to get yourself out of the mundane, get your team out of the mundane, let them focus on stuff that really, really matters. Go to Vendoroo.ai, book a demo with us, and we would love to help you build an agentic AI property management business. Vendoroo.ai, book a demo. Enjoy the rest of the show. I'm glad you brought up JWB, man, because I feel like you're really describing the business model that they've been building for a long time. So it does check out, right? Like
Yeah.
they are a 6,000 door property management company these days and have now moved into this idea of like building downtown Jacksonville as part of it. And I can tell you that what they've done, they got very serious about their ICP when I got there, right? Like I think that they were a little bit confused about their ICP beforehand, and it's been the community play that's really been able to like surface who these super consumers are, right? Like from thinking that they were selling to flippers that then had to put their money in buy and hold, to understanding that they really sell to W-2 investors and folks that they service in that regard, and what matters to them has been crucial to that. I'll also tell you that they, for whatever reason, started this company at 24 and knew day one that it was really about investing in team. And they've built a culture of people that are very, very trained in the asset management kind of like culture. So the majority of their staff are portfolio managers, right? Like it is the folks that, I mean, they have 1,700 clients, right? So, and 6,000 doors. So the majority of their staff is the team that meets with the investors like myself on a monthly basis to explain to them how things are going and be there to like, if something goes wrong, to like explain like, all right, cool. Like this is what's going to happen. This is the process of how we fix stuff. You only need to like approve XYZ, but we're doing all this stuff out of, like, so that you don't have to worry about it. And this is where Jacksonville is going. and why you want to stay here for a long market cycle. Something that they do that I think is worth you thinking about is they have figured out, right? Like you just talked about this idea of if you could guarantee that your clients would stay there for 3 years, you would take those every time. They figured out how to sign 2 and 3 year leases for residents, right? So they won't bring in a new tenant without a minimum 2 year lease, right? They'll do renewals of 1 year, but they won't bring in a tenant for under a 2 year lease. And they start with three, and just kind of like that sales process you just explained, that is what their portfolio managers are out there doing. They're starting at 3 years, and they'll only go down to two for a new resident. Think about that as a way that would mitigate the amount of people that aren't your owners for under 3 years, right? In 3 years, you build enough momentum to be like, all right, now we're going to renew, and they're there with you, right? They also invest heavily in the renewal experience. They have like I think right now it's like 80%, historically a 70% renewal rate. So they invest heavily there. And oh man, there was one more thing that I was going to tell you as far as that goes, but that idea of signing 3 year leases might get you to this. Oh yeah, one more thing. They have a minimum standard for if you are turning over a property to us, we are going to we're going to make sure that the roof is going to be somewhere where it's going to be, like at a certain standard. The HVAC and mechanical are at a certain standard, and there is and right, like, and the plumbing and whatever, and surfaces are all made to maximize durability, ease of replacement, and maintenance, like maintaining it, right? So like elevating the level of the standard. So if somebody's coming in, you were just talking about like you won't do anything with someone that doesn't have 10K liquid, but the idea of like you get someone in and they're bringing a property that's substandard, saying, hey, listen, we got to get this property. By the time that we turn this tenant, we got to get this property to like this level. And at this level, then you are, getting rid of all of your like delay, diverted, whatever it's called, maintenance,
Deferred maintenance.
deferred.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like at this point, you get it to the point where all the deferred maintenance is gone. And now we can sign a 3 year lease, and the next 25 years, 30 years
More
now has
stable.
this predictable kind of like way of doing it. If you can get people in the door that buy into that equation, it feels like you would solve for this like LTV piece. But it all comes back to having the ICP that like will believe that, having the team that can sell that and execute that, and then you're there, right? And
I
then
love
like,
that. I
yeah.
love that. Effectively, what you're doing is what almost like 95% of property managers would cringe to even think about, which is making it harder for people to come on board. Having the requirements, the support requirements for the property itself be up here,
Mhm.
but in so doing, and I've long thought ever since you started telling me about JWB and I started learning more about their business model, I've just been absolutely impressed. A lot of respect for what they've built. When they flip homes, even if the AC is still working, but it's getting close to the end of its useful life, new unit before they will sell it to the end investor. And what they're doing is they're solving a massive pain point that threatens the longevity of the mindset and the commitment for most W2, you call them W2 investors, to stay in this asset class, really to their own detriment, which is having these huge cash outlays and making
Yep.
up stories in their head like, this is not working, this is going to keep going, what's going on, I'm losing. You like wipe that slate clean, get all the deferred capital expenditures taken care of, all the deferred maintenance taken care of,
Mhm.
so that you have a highly stable asset that produces a highly stable outcome. You put highly stable residents in there on highly stable long-term leases. No wonder they have 6,000 units under management. It's
Yeah.
a brilliant model.
Yeah, yeah, I agree, man. It's a brilliant model. And for them, it's like they're doing what you just said of mining the diamonds under their feet. They're also they've also themselves built a 400 door portfolio, and now they're becoming downtown developers, right? So it's like I see in them kind of like the future of the flywheel of exactly what you were talking about, right? Like it's like it has everything, right? Like they have a really, really skilled acquisitions team. They have a really, really skilled maintenance and remodel and turn team. And they have a overall, even more than everything, they have a super skilled portfolio management team of asset managers that talks to people in this way. And it's we've talked about this too, right? It's a super long hiring process and a super slow sales process, right? They have a 4 call kind of like close before you do business with them, where on call one, they're talking about, all right, let's talk about long-term rentals and what you're trying to achieve and like see if this makes sense for you. Call two, they get into your why and your goals and resources, the GNR is what they call that, right? Goals and resources of what you're trying to accomplish. Call three, they show them a plan of like, all right, if this is where you want to be as a grown up, like you got to acquire this many properties and you got to do this many things. And then call four, they're like, all right, cool, here are the properties, like, and then this is, or that's the, like when you bring it on, right? Like for you, it could be like, all right, cool. Now we know that we're going to invest this into this property so that we remodel it to the standard so we can get it here for the next one. And, like, and build that piece out. And likewise with hiring, right? It's also a very slow process of like, first they submit an essay of like, how am I an A player? If they pass that piece, then they go through like 3 different interviews. Then they go through like a full day shadowing of like you watch me do the job, I watch you do the job, and you're coming to like our culture meetings, and then they extend the offer to people, right? So it is a, I saw you say something in the framework of your speech, maybe you can allude to this, but it is a slow down to speed up, akin to kind of like your race experiences.
Yeah. You want me to get into that?
Yeah.
First of all, everything you just said is like deeply resonant with the way I'm thinking about this. And it just makes me think that if we could just go in to JWB, pull back the curtain, learn everything that they're doing, and package it up in a way that's digestible by the small property management company like me, that's a that would be a special thing. That would be, in order to be able to transform, you might think, well, JWB is big, they've got like 5 partners and they're
Mhm.
millions and millions, like I don't have those resources. Yeah, but guess what? There's a template there. There's
Yeah.
a framework there that can be copied, but it requires courage, it requires clarity, and it requires commitment. That's the 3 C's. And they did it. They held the line and they nailed it, dude. So,
And it wasn't easy, man. Like they have plenty of war stories of
oh, I'm sure.
they've now been around for 19 years, right? Like they've
But
had,
why reinvent all that? Like, let's
yeah.
just like rip off everything great that they did and
Agreed.
apply
Agreed.
it in mass across the country. I mean, I can't think of a better business plan. And here's the thing, you mentioned flywheel, and I'm super distracted by the coffin on your shelf over there because I know what it is. I love that.
Mhm.
Okay. So if you're just listening to this audio, you're gonna have to watch the video now.
Spoiler alert, it is the Liquid Death tall boy inside of a coffin that lights up like a nightlight.
Oh, I love that so much.
Flywheel.
You talked about flywheel.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Most of us, small operators, myself included, got into this business in the pursuit of freedom. There's a freedom flywheel here that's fascinating to me. And it is we got into this for time freedom, financial freedom, and relationship freedom. And the reality is, once your business starts giving you those freedoms, now that you have those freedoms, you can now pursue a grander vision and a grander dream. JWB is reimagining downtown Jacksonville because they're at an uncommonly high level of freedom in this industry
True.
that allows them the resources to dream even more bold dreams. And what more could an entrepreneur want than more freedom to dream bolder visions, the realization of which gives them more freedom? Like I'm getting the chills just saying that. Like that is the dream. That's what we're
That's the
doing
dream.
here.
To be able to look me in the eye and tell me that this is verbatim something that Alex Safakis, co-founder of JWB, will tell you. I've got 2 kids under 6 years old. For the past people that like grew up in Jacksonville, they can't wait to leave Jacksonville. I want my kids to graduate college and have no other option but to want to move back to Jacksonville because it has the best jobs and the best lifestyle and it's the coolest city. And he's doing
Dude, what a
it.
freaking legacy. What a
It's epic.
legacy.
It's
That
epic.
is so fantastic. It
Yeah.
came to
So Mark, so
me.
that was inspirational. I think if I wanna end with you giving me an inspirational rah rah, give our friend that's been listening this whole way an inspirational rah rah. I think at the end of the day, in order to mine the diamonds under their feet, we are gonna have to slow down some of the
Slow
stuff we're
down.
doing in
Yeah.
order to speed up.
That's exactly
Give,
right.
give me the inspirational tale.
Okay. Halloween night 2021, I'm on a trail in the Arizona desert, and the sun had just set behind the McDowell Mountains, and it was throwing its brilliant orange glow across the sky. And I didn't notice it at all because I was in a dangerous position. I was 43 miles in to my first 100-kilometer trail race. I'd been on that trail for 10 hours and I hadn't eaten or drinking anything for the last 2.5 hours. I was completely depleted. Somehow I stumbled into an aid station, which is a couple pop-up tents and folding chairs and people helping things out. And I sat down for a moment trying to catch my breath and my bearings and get something in my body. And when I stood up from that chair, I started blacking out. I got that tunnel vision thing and everything just went like down to a point. And somehow I collapsed across a picnic table. I have a picture of this. When I tell this story in a couple weeks, I'm going to show a picture of me collapsed over a picnic table in the middle of the desert at this aid station. A few minutes later, I found myself in a medic tent crying to my pacer. In the last 20 miles of these races, they let you take somebody along with you. I was crying to this guy saying, take me in. I was 8 miles from the finish, a race that I had bragged to all my running friends that I would finish if I had to crawl. And here I was on a cot in a medic tent telling everybody, take me in, take me in. I'm done, I'm done, I'm done. And at the time, initially, after this experience, I thought it was my body, the fatigue, the failure of my body that landed me in that medic tent. But it wasn't. It was my mindset. It was the way I approached the race. It was the way I was thinking about running that race that really wrecked me. Fortunately for me, 75 minutes later, my pacer, who had the same running coach I did, got a text from coach and it said, tell Mark to get up and walk it in. And I didn't trust anybody. I didn't trust myself, but somehow like a lightning bolt, that message through coach got me sitting up on the edge of that cot. I was more nauseous than I'd ever felt in my life. I was certain I would continue vomiting and just be on the side of the trail in the fetal position in a few minutes. But I trudged out of that stupid tent anyway, mad, pissed off, and out into the dark of the night. And what followed was an absolute miraculous story. I essentially rallied and ran faster in the last 8 miles than I had all day. And there's more to that part of the story, but I won't belabor you with the details. 2 years later, I made it my vendetta that I was going to conquer this race. For 2 years, I dedicated myself to training for this race. And I went back, I returned that race 2 years later. I finished it an hour and a half faster. No crash, no bonk. And guess what? I felt way better the entire race because I went slower. I went slower for long enough and more methodical and more deliberate and more intentional and more focused. I had acquired the mindset, the discipline, the practices, and the routines that allowed me to run faster by slowing down. And that shifted everything for me. And I found that principle is true in life and business. When we're in the hurry and the hustle and bustle to try to add as many leads as we can, that adds as many doors as we can, because that's what success is. But then some wise person comes along and explains to us, actually, there's a better way that's easier. And you can 10x your outcome, not just 2x your outcome, right? And that shifted everything for me. So the diamonds are under our feet. And if we slow down and mine them intentionally, we will effectively speed up. And I want to share, I don't know if you're going to be able to see it up on, oh, shoot.
Yeah, I kind of see it. Are you talking about that picture behind you?
Yeah, the picture behind me.
Yeah.
So, oh, you don't see it. Anyway, that's a picture of me at that race at the moment that I knew that I had it locked in 2 years later when I went back to conquer it. And the sun is setting and I'm only 5 miles from the finish there instead of 8 miles in a medic tent. And I was fist pumping. And it was like one of the greatest moments of my life.
And if you want to have the greatest moment in your life, go see Mark Brower speak at the Strategic PM conference in Fort Lauderdale. When is it, Mark?
Couple weeks. I think it's sold out. Yeah, but it's in a couple weeks. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm looking forward to
Dude,
it.
good stuff, man. I appreciate you, dude.